All right, hello again, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Kingdom of the Kael Isles. Yes, this is my custom D&D campaign where the people below me, who may pop in and out of visual contact with us because Roll20 rocks, and so does the internet. Hashtag protect net neutrality. This is a custom campaign. Bad things are happening. These guys are trying to make them less bad. Well, most of them are. Now all of them are. And yeah, to kind of bring you guys up to speed, the group here was originally hired to stop this pirate called the Black Scourge. They did it by blowing up his ship, because that's the most effective way to kill someone. Don't actually, kill them or anything like that. No, just blow up the vessel they happen to be traveling on. And of course, everything else takes care of itself. They went through some other stuff, fought some undead, made some friends that died, and eventually formed this resistance against the very oppressive Eladrin Mageocracy that rules the Kael Isles, and had been recruiting new allies and everything and getting ready to attack and try to overthrow the Council of One, who is the ruler of the Eladrin. But tragedy struck when the Eladrin learned how to create airships and attacked and destroyed your base of operations. And now you guys are attempting to get to the only people that have ever been able to resist Eladrin rule, which are the Dragonborn that live in Draconis, at the southern portion of the Kael Isles. And the reason they've been able to avoid Eladrin rule is their entire country island thing is surrounded by very, very high mountains you can't climb over that go directly into water. And they have a giant gate that blocks off anyone from getting into their city. Now that the Eladrin have flying ships, that may or may not be able to fight them off anymore. So, what happened last week is you guys went looking for a ship to kind of get you to Draconis because you were pretty far away. And you met up with the Black Scourge, who apparently didn't die and is now second in command of this smuggling pirate group that calls himself the Black Sails. And yeah, the leader, after witnessing the power of Willow's ability to make intoxicating beverages, has kind of warmed to the party and has offered to personally take you to the gates of Draconis to watch you fail to get the attention of the Dragonborn, because they have not come out of Draconis in centuries. So that's kind of where you guys are. Fade did have a conversation with the Black Scourge. You guys have heard him being called Serge. But beyond that, you really don't know a whole lot other than he doesn't particularly like you guys. And Kata noticed something very strange about him.
Yeah, I did.
That nobody else recognized. So, now that we're back, we're all caught up. Again, you guys got there after running into some pretty bad stuff. You were given dinner. It was later at night. Fade went and talked to the Black Scourge for a little bit. But it's still nighttime. You guys have yet to take your rest. You're going to be leaving tomorrow morning relatively early, before dawn. So if there are any preparations you guys want to make either before you go to sleep tonight, or if you want to try to wake up a little bit early to make some prep before you get going tomorrow, you can do that. So what do you guys want to do?
I will go find Scar. And do we? Is there any chance I can get? Or is there any chance I can get privacy anywhere on the ship right now?
To be perfectly honest, you're not on a ship. You're in this kind of
Well,
underground place, and you don't actually have access to anywhere other than the bunks or wherever you are escorted. You were escorted to the Black Scourge's quarters, and then you were escorted back to the bunks, and that is all you have access to. They do have guards posted at the
okay,
doors and stuff like that. Despite the fact that you're in a communal sleeping area, so you're going to be sleeping with the other pirates in there as well. They have guards and things like that, and they are keeping an eye on you. I am going to say, Fade, because of how much time you took going out and speaking with Serge and everything. You're going to be limited just by time wise in anything
okay,
else that you might want to do.
okay.
So, knowing that, and no, there is nowhere you can get privacy. You're in a big old room with bunk beds in it. Think like
I
military
would
barracks.
say if because I know you counted the steps, if you're able to get back to Lo and Kata's room, I can make it private. But I don't know if they'll let you.
No, they won't like what I'm going to do no matter what. So it's fine.
Okay.
I'm going to in our bunk. What is the floor made of?
It's wood. Everything is made of wood. Again, you don't. Since going in through that hidden door that you guys destroyed, you have been entirely in a man-made structure. You have not seen light. You have not seen windows, or you've not seen daylight. You have not seen windows. You are effectively underground. You know there is a city, and you know that it is very close to you because you saw it from the outside. But because of all the twists and turns and hallways and stuff like that, all of you guys are so discombobulated. You have no idea where in the city you're hidden. It could be one of the walls of this barracks is actually exposed to the outside and just doesn't have a window on it. You literally have no idea, but you are entirely in constructed. The entire like base that you've seen has been entirely built of wood and metal where it's needed. You know, it's not like it's all wood. So Green Lantern can't do anything to it or something. But it's well constructed.
I'm going to recast Animate Dead on Scar, and I'm actually going to kind of hesitate a little bit mid cast and have to start over because of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But I will end up using 2 spell slots to cast Animate Dead and then go to sleep.
Okay. Anyone else?
I think I mentioned last game that I was prepping an alarm spell and setting that up around our room and just kind of like making sure things were secure.
Yep. So no one can come in.
Yep.
Or
and
rather,
just,
theoretically, with the alarm spell, they can come in.
Right.
Everybody in like it's like 1,000 feet or something like that, right? Like it's a long distance that you hear.
Yeah, but I can have it set so it's not audible to everyone else. It can just be audible to me.
Oh, okay. Well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, you set your alarm spell up. Is there anything else the rest of you guys want to do before heading off to bed? Avog doesn't even care. Hashtag Avog don't care.
Yeah, I don't think Kata would care either.
Yeah. You find
Well,
you guys have hammocks that you're sleeping on. They're sleeping on the boys are sleeping on bunks. Just because it looks like the room that you're sleeping in was not technically designated for sleep. They just kind of converted it.
Do we have our own separate bunks?
Yeah,
I'm sleeping
you
with you
bunk
either way.
beds. Again, think military barracks. You have bunk beds, 3 on top of each other, going to the roof, and there's probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 dozen in this room. It's a big, wide open room with a couple pillars in it every so often to keep the roof from falling down. The entire purpose of this room is for a large number of people to be able to sleep. And you notice that people, there's nothing identifying on any of the beds or anything like that. So it's not like there are no foot lockers at the end of the beds or anything like that that would indicate that these are assigned bunks or something like this. This is literally just a place where people go, they find an empty place to sleep, and they sleep there. And Avok, you are familiar with this practice, especially as a roving mercenary band. Very, very familiar with the idea of, yes, you just find a bed, lay down in it as long as there isn't somebody else there, or if there is someone else there, as long as both of you don't mind.
Yeah, I guess Avok is one of the first to go to bed, so
Okay.
he is asleep before anybody else does anything.
Okay. So,
Willow,
yes?
I was just going to say, Willow is probably also just doing a little bit of tinkering, just kind of like to calm her nerves and where she was asleep.
So you're futzing with little things. You take out your transmuter stone and you randomly transmute a couple of things just to, get that feeling of control that's kind of been taken away from you since you've been...
Yeah, just probably like a little music box or one of the clockwork toys she can make easily that she has little stuff for.
Okay. So, as you guys all go to sleep, Fade, you've been noticing your sleep over the past couple of days, because it's only been a couple of days since the attack. Your sleep has become more and more troubled. When you wake up, you'll wake up multiple times during the night in a flop sweat, and you'll have had some sort of a nightmare, but you won't be able to remember any of it other than just this kind of fear and terror. And it's been happening, and the first time it happened, you just, 2 or 3 times in the night, you woke up in a flop sweat, couldn't figure out why, and then went back to sleep. And as the nights went on, it became more and more common for you to start remembering bits and pieces of the nightmare. Generally, kind of seeing a blurry vision of something coming towards you, and then the lights dimming, and then this intense pain as you feel you're being dragged or pulled by pure fire and brimstone through some opening or portal, and then you would wake up. Tonight is slightly different. Tonight, the dream itself seems more vivid. The dream itself seems extremely realistic, almost to the point that you're having a hard time, despite the fact that from having a disciplined mind that you are dreaming. You would be hard-pressed to figure out that this was a dream. Like, you can smell kind of must and mold around you. You can feel kind of a cold humidity in the air. You can actually feel the grains of sand that are getting in between the pieces and kind of plates of your leather armor as your knees are on the ground, and you can feel yourself kind of swaying, and as you start to look around, it's very difficult for you to focus. Everything is very, very blurry, and as you try to focus on things, you notice your head hurts extremely badly, and your arm hurts, and your side hurts, and all these things, and so you move your hand over to touch your side where it hurts, and you feel dampness soaking through your leather armor and the padding underneath it. And as you bring it away, your vision focuses ever for just a few seconds on your hand, literally just covered in your own blood, dripping off, and you realize that you're bleeding out heavily. And you sit there and you're trying to do everything you can to focus, and you feel in your left hand, you can feel the weight of a heavy item. And you look down, and again, your vision clears just for a brief second to look at an axe you haven't seen in a really long time. But this axe is made out of this black metal, and the blade itself has these barbs and chunks that make it look to seem as if it would rip and tear a wound as opposed to slicing like an axe normally would. And you can feel the weight of the axe in your left hand, and you keep trying to bring it up to defend yourself, and you simply can't. And you look forward and you see this very large, muscle-bound man coming towards you with a now I have to actually remember, I believe it was a longsword at this point. So you see this really large, muscle-bound man coming towards you with a longsword. You can see this almost sickening grin on his face, and you can feel the satisfaction kind of flowing from him as he comes towards you, and you hear this gruff voice. You can't really make out what the voice is saying, but it seems very, very happy. And as he brings up this longsword, he holds it with both hands, swipes it down. You feel a sharp pain at your neck, and you feel wetness splatter all over your face and chest. And as that happens, your vision dims, and you feel yourself being pulled away into darkness. And then suddenly you start to see light again. You start to see a pool of light surrounded by darkness. The darkness that seems so complete and so powerful that it almost seems to have a presence. It's not the absence of light, it is the epitome, it is the embodiment of darkness that surrounds this small pool of light. And you see the darkness itself says something that you can't hear and you can't understand. And you feel ashamed for a second, and you see the darkness itself, a sliver of light slices down through the darkness and opens to a red portal of some kind, a red doorway. You can't see what's on the other side, but you know you have to go through that portal. And so you start walking towards it, and from the portal itself is heat and fire, and it's starting to burn away your leather armor and your clothing and everything. Your weapon is no longer with you. Your wounds, though no longer bleeding, still ache, and every bit of the heat keeps making them hurt worse. And as you step through it, you hear, "You have been judged." And the door begins to close behind you as you see a hellscape in front of you. And just as the door starts to close, suddenly you feel this claw, almost as if a giant hand came from behind you and grabbed onto you. You can feel these points at the end of this claw piercing into your chest. and you feel it start to pull you, but the world that you're in already has a hold on you. And so the fire becomes more and more intense, and your wounds start to bleed profusely, and you start to feel the most excruciating pain you've ever felt in your entire life. But this claw continues to keep its hold on you, and it's holding this doorway back to that pool of light open, and it seems to be violating the very way that this world is supposed to work. And you keep feeling, and finally it starts to pull you through the door, and as it does that, you feel bones break and shatter as you are pulled through an opening much too small for your body to actually go through. And you're pulled back into the room with a pool of light, and then you are pulled from this place, and suddenly you are there again. You can smell the dampness around you. You can feel sand in all of your wounds. The wounds themselves are still open but no longer bleed. You no longer really feel pain. You try to shake your head, but it doesn't move. You try to lift your hand, but it doesn't answer to your command. You suddenly feel your face turn, and you hear your voice utter words that you didn't want to. Master. And you are looking up into the face of an Eladrin.
Oh, no.
And as you sit there recognizing your own face, you immediately wake up. Again, pure flop sweat. At this point, you remember the entire dream. You realize this is what you have been dreaming every night, over and over again, since the attack. And at this point, because you remember it all, you can't sleep. As you stand up, you notice that your hands are shaking. And your breathing is incredibly shallow. You start to feel lightheaded as you start to hyperventilate a little bit. And you look over in the corner where Scar is standing dutifully, waiting for his next command. And the realization of what you just witnessed slowly starts to creep over you. And you suddenly feel this extreme wave of nausea flood over you. And I'd like you to make a Constitution saving throw for me.
Can I auto-fail this?
Sure. I'll say you auto-fail it. Sure. You don't even try to control yourself. No. Your body is kind of rejecting something, and you empty the contents of your stomach all over the ground. You can feel tears streaming down your face despite the fact that you don't remember crying. And you feel physically... you feel physical pain, like you've been hit by a battering ram. Your muscles ache. Your chest burns. And after about 5 minutes pass, you get a couple of the other pirates that are in there. One of them comes up and kind of kicks you over, and you don't have the strength to really resist, so you just land on the ground. And yells at you. You can't really understand anyone speaking right now. You're having such a hard time concentrating. But he kicks you over and yells at you, and then you see him walk over and pick up what looks like a mop and bucket, and just throws the mop and bucket at you, points at the mess that you've made, and then goes and walks over to stand guard in the doorway as he has been. But you're still having a hard time kind of processing things. And you are now slowly, your senses are starting to come to. Your body still hurts, but you have control over it again. You still feel sick, a kind of sickness that you've never felt before. almost a disgust in you want you feel almost as if there is a layer of grime covering your entire body. You almost want to peel your own flesh off because it feels like it's just not supposed to be there. It's just disgusting to you. What would you like to do? It's the middle of the night, without a moon or anything to give you time. You've got no idea how long you were asleep.
I'm just looking at the duration of this here, but I'm going to try to stand up, kind of stumble for a second, take a knee, and eventually stand up and walk over to Scar and say, I'm so sorry. And then I'm going to cast a spell called Gentle Repose. Which
I'm not familiar with, so you're going to have to read it to me.
You touch a corpse or other remains. For the duration, the target is protected from decay and can't become undead. The spell also effectively extends the time limit, blah, 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 on decay.
Okay.
So basically, I'm just trying to free what I now know as an unwilling participant, whereas I once thought just a meat shield, something that was thrown away and discarded. Okay. I was just trying to protect people, but I'm not. Now that I know there's more.
Make me an Arcana check. Or, I'll let you choose, Arcana or Religion.
I'll take the Religion, please.
I'll take Religion for 500.
Hmm.
I rolled a 9 total.
Okay. So as you sit there and you start feeling the energy flowing from you, it stops in your hand. And the energy itself doesn't seem to go past your hand and just kind of dissipates. So the spell is cast, but due to the fact that this isn't actually a corpse,
sure,
it doesn't affect it.
And that's kind of what I was hoping would happen. So I actually start crying again.
Okay.
I know roughly what the limitations of my reanimation magic is, so I know that
you would
he
actually
has to be here longer.
To be perfectly honest, you would actually know specifics. Again, you technically come from a scientific background, cleric. So you would know very, very specifically what the exact limitations of this particular magic are, because it is something that you experimented with for years. So.
And I know that there's nothing I can do. What I've done is already done. So I need to deal with it for now. This has to go on for a little while longer.
Okay. And you hear Scar go, Master.
Speak freely, please, if you can. If there's anything left of you. And I kind of release. Obviously, there's always like a mental telepathic control. They do what I command. I'm essentially trying to remove any command structure that I've been placed.
Go ahead and roll me another religion check.
16.
Okay. So as you sit there trying to focus on something that really doesn't happen, you when this particular spell is cast, part of the purpose of the spell is to give you complete control over the creature, because without that control, it becomes a mindless undead. And does exactly, it seeks out life and attempts to end it. And this particular form of undead, not only does it seek out life in an attempt to end it, it seeks out life in order to create more unlife. That is its kind of its purpose and its driving focus. And you know that if you start to remove the kind of fail-safes that are built into the spell, the creature itself will simply revert to its more animalistic instincts and start doing what it is that its purpose is, which is going around killing people, raising them as undead. So you theoretically could try to remove the safeguards that are built into the spell on purpose. It would be difficult because, again, you're manipulating magic, a spell that has been cast in and created in a very specific way to do a very specific thing, and you would be changing the foundation of how the spell works. So it would be difficult, but you could do it. But you do know that if you did that, it would be a mindless undead. Or as mindless as a wight can be. They still have an intelligence to them, but as far as the creature that they were, they're not like a lich, where the creature that they were before undeath still exists and controls the body, and the intellect remains. A wight is much more base.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, Fade is unable to deal with what he's done. He's never seen from another perspective the repercussions of his actions. So he is going to just kind of flop down against the wall wherever Scar was and just kind of hang his head and let the day go by.
So do you go back to bed, or do you kind of just stay there? Okay.
Nope.
So, what do I have here? I think I can do that. So you do gain 1 level of exhaustion.
Yep.
But you are there long enough that you get the effects of a full rest, minus the fact that you now have a level of exhaustion.
Cool.
So you still get the long rest, you just also get a level of exhaustion on top of that. Avok and Elaine, when you guys wake up, you see... oh, by the way, Faye, did you ever clean up the puke?
No, fuck that.
Okay. So Avok and Elaine, when you guys wake up, you smell kind of the very acrid scent of bile and vomit. Since you guys were all sleeping relatively close to each other, I would like both of you to make I'm going to say dexterity saving throws.
I probably don't see this
I
coming.
had a big dinner. What can I say?
Again, best food you guys had in years.
Shit.
And the boys are probably gonna throw it all back up.
Nah.
I have a high constitution. I'm used to this shit. But anyways, 7.
What was your Avok?
7.
7. Okay, and Elaine, what's your dex save?
21.
Yeah. Of course it's a 21. So you guys both smell this very acrid, the very acrid and acidic smell of like bile and vomit. Avok, having been in situations like this before, it's not even the first time you've woken up to someone having thrown up overnight. And so you just kind of roll out of bed, smash your feet on the floor, and feel this sickening squishing sensation as you realize you have just stepped in a large pile of vomit that has been there, you would assume, for most of the night, because it smells horrible by now. And Elaine, you start to get ready to jump off the bed and get ready for everything. Hear the squishing sound, and just in a split second kind of grab the bed itself and kind of flip yourself to another side so that you don't land in this pile of vomit. And Avok, as you're relishing, because this probably isn't the first time you've stepped in someone else's vomit either. Both you and Elaine look to see if Fade has also stepped in this, and Fade is not in his bunk.
Do we see Fade?
Yeah, quick glancing around the room, you see Fade over by the wall, standing or leaning, sitting and leaning against the wall next to Scar. You can see his eyes are red. You can see his head is kind of leaned back against the wall, but it's not like his eyes aren't closed. It's not in like an attempt to sleep phase. He just looks exhausted. There's massive dark circles underneath his eyes.
I'm gonna assume you are responsible for this.
I look at whatever he's pointing at. Yeah, and then I'll get up and go clean it up.
Okay.
Sorry.
The mop and bucket are still there from the night before.
Yep.
It's relatively simple. You yourself have had to clean up much worse due to failed experiments and things like this. So this isn't even that difficult a process. Like you have had to clean up literal piles of undeath before. So you clean it up. Still doesn't smell too nice in the bunk room. You get dirty looks from a bunch of pirates. A few of them walk past you and like intentionally bump into you relatively hard, just to kind of show their displeasure at the fact that now their bunk smells like vomit.
Did any of them pass me as well?
You notice a lot of people tend to give you a wide berth here. You are like, these guys are not small, and they're not weak by any means. But you still stand a good couple inches taller than the biggest one you've seen thus far. And despite the fact that they're very lithe and very they're muscular, but they don't have very massive muscles. They're very much very toned, I guess. So you're wider than everybody else too. Yeah, so you tend to see people give you a pretty wide berth. Elaine, they don't give you a wide berth, but they do Avok.
Okay, I take the foods I didn't agree with you last night.
Yeah.
Your first thought, Avok, is either bad food or poison food. And so you immediately do kind of a, mental self-check of yourself. You feel great. I mean, other than waking up and stepping in vomit, like, your belly's full, you don't feel, if you've ever had one of those meals where it just didn't sit right with you, this was not one of them. This is really, really nice. So, you don't know what was wrong with Fade's food, but yours is fine.
I want to make an insight check on Fade to see if I can discern it, like his demeanor a little better.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I don't.
He looks like an Eladrin. I mean, they're obvious, like the dark circles under the eyes. He didn't sleep well. Like that is blatantly obvious. No insight check needed. And red eyes, again, probably he didn't sleep well. Would be a good explanation of that. You actually don't know why he has red eyes, but it could be explained by just having very poor sleep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Beyond that, you got nothing. Again, you have you have seen other people who have had bad reactions to food and seen them the next morning. They kind of look like what Fade looks like. It's not food poisoning is not an enjoyable experience.
That's fair. Okay.
If I see him looking at me too long, I'm gonna quick look away and mutter under my breath and cast thaumaturgy to make my eyes look normal.
Okay.
Would I be able to notice this?
Fade, make a sleight of hand check.
I was about to say,
It's verbal.
We perceive.
I know theoretically, the sleight of hand is still make a sleight of mouth check.
Should I roll a perception check to see if I can?
Yeah,
catch
it'll
this?
be an opposed, his sleight of hand versus your perception.
Okay. Oh, for fuck's sake!
You can choose stealth if you would prefer, Fade, to whisper.
What'd you roll, Avok? I rolled a 6.
Yeah, I rolled a 5.
So Fade,
No. Sorry, looking at the.
Rolling
Sorry. No.
like you're rolling like Jody.
Okay, let me finish. I was calculating because I looked at the wrong skill. I rolled I rolled an 8.
Damn it!
so you're close. So you did see Fade mutter something. You saw the just very briefest hint of his holy symbol kind of shimmer for a second. And looking at his eyes now, he looks fine. He's still, the rest of his body, he looks like he's been through hell. Like, despite the fact that, the circles under his eyes are gone and his eyes are no longer bloodshot. His just whole physical demeanor, he is kind of sunk to the ground right now. So, but beyond that, that could be anything from food poisoning to just having a bad day. You really don't know. Again, you have seen horrible things. Different people react to different things differently, and you know this firsthand. So it's again, you're still talking about it's only been a few days since you watched hundreds of people that you knew relatively well, die in fire, and a home that you had helped build get utterly demolished. So, again, different people are going to react to that differently. And this has been the first time since the attack you guys have been able to actually sleep without fear of the Eladrin finding you. So this has been the first real sleep you guys have gotten probably in, like 5 days or something like that? I think that's how long it's been.
Okay. I don't know what's going on with you, but just put the fucking mop down and let's go. Later, Zordon.
Sorry, it's my phone. Alpha has prepared a free Mighty Morph box for me, so...
Oh my god, that's adorable.
If anyone didn't know, I'm a massive nerd, and Power Rangers are cool, so... back to the game. If you guys see me, teleport out of here, you'll know why now. Because obviously I'm a Power Ranger. So, Kata and Willow, you guys wake up. Willow, your alarm spell is undisturbed. Kata, this is probably the first time you've ever slept in a hammock. So it's kind of interesting.
Hey, do I flip over?
You probably did last night trying to get him to the hammock. Because once you're in a hammock, it's remarkably stable because it kind of curls up around you.
Yeah, true.
Getting into it though is a pain in the ass. If you've never done it before, because it doesn't.
I have done it before.
Well, kata is what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
gotcha, yeah.
It's a pain in the ass. You probably fell on your butt a couple times, but now that you wake up, you're kind of almost in this cocoon net kind of thing. As you wake up, kind of curled into a ball because that's how you just naturally sleep. Willow, you wake up, noticing that your alarm spell has not gone off.
Willow's having some serious tech issues.
Okay. I'm going to very quickly refresh because you were a black screen, Evok. So, audience, please stay tuned. Okay. All right, Willow, can you hear me now? Check test. This is what's called technical difficulties, folks.
Hey. Gosh.
All right, I'm going to try experiment.
Well, I disabled my video to see if that would do anything.
All right, can you guys
God.
still hear me?
Yeah.
Willow, can you hear me?
I'm back again.
All right, I'm going to try this. I have to change the setup because the audience is still allowed to see my beautiful face. Oh, but it's not going to let me do that, is it?
Oh.
No, I just, see if I can. That's not what I wanted to do. Let's try refreshing and see if that changes something. There we go. Okay. Super sorry for the technical difficulties, folks. It's unfortunately the nature of the game.
Yeah.
So we're going to get rid of that. No, that doesn't work. So I'm going to do this. All right. Here we go. Sorry, you guys get to see a little bit of the magic behind the scenes now. How all this crazy stuff works. There we go. All right, everything's fixed. Or at least we're going to pretend it is. All right, so, can everybody hear me now?
Yes.
Elaine, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just want to make sure. So, going back to what we just did, Kata, you kind of wake up in your little, hammock cocoon. Willow, you wake up, you notice your alarm spell has not gone off or anything, so no one attempted to come into the room at night. You have no idea what time it is right now, but you hear a pounding on the door. All right, we're getting going soon. Get up, do your lady things.
Right. And I probably, in the process of trying to get out, I immediately, the bed probably flips over.
Yeah. So Willow, as you hear this, do your lady things. You hear this.
I think
You
maybe
hear a
the next
pause
one-
for a second, and then you're like, "Oh, be careful getting out of the hammocks." It's harder than it looks. This is all done through the door.
Now tell us.
Willow's been up for a few minutes and has been flipping through her spell book, just kind of prepping for the day, and
Okay.
chuckles a little and then gets out of bed.
So, Kata, you see something that you've actually never seen before. You see Willow pull out this very large, thick book. You remember books and things like that. But this book itself seems to almost radiate an energy behind it. And as she pages through it, it looks like nonsense on every single page. You know, there's little pictures that don't make sense, and there's scribblings, and there's, you know, some of the text kind of shimmers and shines, and the ink has like there are certain pages where the ink almost looks like it changes colors depending on which angle you're looking at it, and it's this really, really cool book that you've never seen anything like it before. But it doesn't look like any language you've ever seen.
Yeah.
So yeah, Willow, you prepare the you prepare your spells for the day. You do notice Kata kind of looking over your shoulder at your book, and being a wizard from Eladrin Society, if another wizard were to start looking at your personal spell book, your instant response would be to cover the spell book, and it's kind of a faux pas to look at someone else's spell book without like asking them. And if you're doing it from like over their shoulder or something like that, it's just rude, is what it is. It's just plain rude. So your first instinct when noticing that Kata is staring very intently at your book is to kind of close the book very quickly and hide it away. That is your instinct. How would you like to react to that instinct? She's done with you, Kata. She disappears in a puff of smoke, and roll 20. We love you, we really do. But if you could get your shit together, that'd be really awesome. Can you hear us, Willow? So back to the boys. Elaine, Fade, Avok, can you guys hear us?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Avok, if you, I am going to turn off mic audio and desktop audio so I can talk about some specific stuff that I don't want the audience on YouTube hearing. So you guys are going to notice that everything turns quiet and my camera is going to turn off for a second. That's because we're talking about technical stuff that you guys don't need to know about. I promise it's on purpose.
Okay.
So mute that. Hello again, audience. We are fixing some issues with tech and everything right now. We're trying something slightly different, which is why you see I affectionately call that D&D cat, because I had a game forever ago where a player couldn't show up or something like that, and I didn't have an alternate setup created for less players. So I just found a picture of a cat and put it in there and called it D&D cat. And now anytime I just replace someone's actual avatar picture with a random object, which right now is an Owlbear Valentine's Day card, I just refer to that as D&D cat. So we are fixing the issues with the audio with Willow and Avok. So while that is happening, I'm going to check in with them really, really quickly. I promise we will be back to your regularly scheduled program in just a couple of seconds here. Just again, due to privacy reasons, I don't like absolutely everything to be broadcast to the internet and saved as a YouTube video. So just a couple more seconds, I promise. I'll be right back. All right, we are back. Apologize for the technical difficulties. Again, it is the nature of Roll20 and internet connections and everything like that. Things like this are bound to happen. It didn't happen during our tech check. We had everything fixed, and then it all just went to hell. So we're fixing it. But beyond that, we're going to go back to Fade, Elaine, and Kata. Do you guys have any preparations you want to make before you get going? You have all now been approached by different pirates who have basically told you guys that once you are ready, they will take you to the ship so that you can get out of there. So if there are any other preparations you guys would like to make before going, you guys have been taken kind of to a central kind of waiting area. It's a little bit larger room, like 20 by 20. There's shelves on the wall. It looks like a storage room. So you guys have basically been shoved into a storage room while they wait for the ship to be ready. So you guys are all now together again.
I will look at Elaine and ask about her dragon patron guy. He was disgusted with my abilities and who I was working for a time when we first met him. Do you feel the same way? And then I specifically point to Scar. Are you okay with that?
I have no complaints. So long as he doesn't, like, turn on us. Or any of that stuff.
And then I look at Kata. I know you haven't seen anything like him before. Are you okay with this? What I'm doing to him? Are you okay with this?
Not really any opinion.
Maybe it's just me. I don't know.
I mean, Kata, you would have.
Okay?
Kata, you yourself have a connection to life through nature magic and that, so you do know
sure.
whatever has happened to this creature that Fade controls is unnatural. You do know because druids have summoning spells and things like that, or conjuring spells. So you do know you are familiar with someone conjuring an animal or a face spirit. Like with druids, it's generally you conjure a face spirit and they take a specific form, and through the conjuring effect, you're able to control them. But it's a very natural process. It's how face spirits exist sometimes in this world, and it's never technically permanent. Like if the creature dies, the face spirit doesn't die; it goes back to where it came from.
Yeah.
So you've been able to kind of feel that whatever was done to him is unnatural. Beyond that, you've never dealt with undead before, so you wouldn't have a frame of reference, but you can feel that there is something that is at least unnatural.
Not sure,
All right.
but
Go ahead, Kata.
but I can feel this is unnatural. I suppose, at least different from my summoning magic.
I wait.
Avok and Willow, you guys have all been kind of brought to a central kind of holding room. You guys are in a storage room. It's like 20 by 20, so you're all together now. Okay. And Fade has been asking everyone what they think about Scar. So just to fill you in on what's been going on.
Okay.
So anyway, Fade, you were saying?
I look at Avok and you killed him once. Does it bother you that he's still here? What I'm doing to him?
I'm practically used to the weird shit you do at this point, so whatever.
Basically, I mean, out of character, Fate is just reaching out to justify what he's done because he can't wrap his brain around it. So, back in character. Willow, have you seen this before anywhere?
What I have?
Arcane magic. Yeah, you dealt with necromancy is looked down upon even in the Eladrin, who are super like magic is the greatest thing ever. Necromancy is always looked down upon, but you've known necromancers. They tend to stick with each other. You have seen. Due to the fact that your apprenticeship, you probably would have studied a little bit of necromancy while you were learning. You're familiar with the spell. You know how it works.
Okay.
You're a well-read person. So, and the spell that he casts is actually not really high level magic.
Yeah.
So, if you wanted to, you could probably learn that spell. I believe it's on the wizard spell list.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is.
Sure it is. But
So- Yeah, so you know the spell.
Okay.
Yeah, animate that is on the wizard spell list.
Yes, I mean I've seen it before. I've never done it myself. I don't know that it's my place to make any judgment. I've only known you for a week now.
You're right. I'm sorry.
No,
I just walk away.
Fade.
In your little 20-foot room.
Yep. I walk to the corner. Just kind of
You pull a Vax.
Huh?
Are you okay with what you have been doing? Do I sense that he doesn't really feel okay with himself?
Roll an insight check.
Okay. 16.
Okay. Having grown up around animals, that tends to be where, when you're interpreting how humans interact, you tend to revert, kind of relate it to how animals act. And one of the things you know specifically, you grew up around there were wolves and wild dogs and things like that in the jungle that you grew up, and you became close with a few of them. Like you had pets and things like that out there, and when they would do something wrong, specifically wolves and dogs have this thing where if they do something that they know they're going to be scolded about, they get this very ashamed reaction. Like they hang their head, they'll hide, they'll try and force themselves as low to the ground as physically possible. It's a submissive behavior. You kind of sense a little of that in Fade, which is weird because he's not your pet and you're not angry at him. So there's no reason for him to feel ashamed, because that's always how it's worked for you before. Is it's been like a pet or a friend, as you probably would have considered it, more than a pet. But it had no Fade has, to your knowledge, Fade hasn't done anything wrong. But you do kind of get that feeling from him, that kind of ashamed, submissive feeling.
So Willow has walked over to him and very hesitantly just placed a hand on his arm, because that's about where she can reach.
Reaches up.
Yep. Do you look at her, Fade?
As soon as you make contact, I look up and I just kind of, he's still in there. I didn't know.
We grew up in a world that taught us a lot of things that we're now learning are wrong. The fact that you know now means that you can change in the future.
I look down and Avok, you did it once before. Can you do it again? And I kind of, I hint towards Scar.
Master.
And as Scar says that, I tell him to get on his knees and put his head down.
He does.
Yeah, I think I got what you're meaning.
Need help?
No. This won't take too long.
By the way, you guys would have just been furnished with your weapons when they put you in this kind of holding room. Because, donning armor and getting weapons ready and stuff like that takes a little bit of time. So that would have been one of the reasons you were put in here. So Avok, you do have your great axe.
All right. Well,
I walk over to Avok. I stand up and I walk over to him, and as soon as he hefts his axe, I put a hand somewhere on the hilt of it, and I cast a holy weapon and make it shine with radiant energy.
Okay. So Avok, as you bring the axe up, Fade comes over and touches it, and you see his holy symbol glow. Again, that deep indigo that you have come to recognize as it magic. And as he does that, you watch this wave of energy go from his hand into your weapon, and the weapon itself feels simultaneously lighter and yet heavier at the same time. Because with a weapon like this, the weight of the weapon is one of the things that gives it the power that it has, but you feel like you have much more control over it, and yet it's still, you can feel this power pulsing through it.
you should really do this more often. Anyways,
Go ahead and make me an attack roll with advantage.
gotcha.
Can I make him paralyzed?
We'll deal with that in a second.
It's 27.
Okay, that hits. Due to the fact that he is literally bent over for a killing blow, he has the paralyzed condition, so this is an auto crit. So roll double the dice. You'll have to remind me how Holy Weapon works.
You also get 2d8 of radiant damage.
So double that to 48 plus, what is that? I think it's 46 for your Great Axe. Plus anything else you want to add on to it. Great Weapon
sec.
Master it, whatever.
Yeah, I wish I had Great Weapon Master. Hey, that's 37 points of damage.
Okay.
Then I walk up. Is the head attached, I should say?
How many hit points does he normally have?
45.
Let's say he's vulnerable to radiant damage, so double the radiant damage.
Okay.
Does he get
So
above
at-
45?
Give me a sec. I have to.
Let's say it gets above 45. The head is no longer attached.
What?
Is it just the D8s for the radiant?
It was just the Ds that were. Yeah.
Did you really roll that poorly? Oh.
I rolled double ones on the radiant damage.
Did you
Ouch.
roll 4d8 instead of 2d8?
I did the Mercer way. Should I roll?
Yeah, I generally tend to prefer just rolling more dice, simply because the Mercer way you can end up with double ones, and the likelihood of rolling 2 1s is significantly higher than the likelihood of rolling 4 1s on
That's
d8s. So I tend to prefer just rolling more, and it's fun to roll just a handful of dice. It really is.
Yeah.
So
I
I
can
love
confirm.
I love watching rogues and stuff like that crit on a sneak attack and then roll 16d6.
It's great.
Like, it's just fun to watch.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
the vision of panic on their face when they realize that they're in a limited time slot and now they have to do math in front of everybody very quickly is also fun.
No, it's not. No.
Okay. So I'll just. Yeah.
He's
give me a
dead.
sec.
He's dead. You
Yeah,
took his head
at
off.
the-
He's dead. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I go and I pick up the head, and Fade always has this big duffel canvas bag to carry around bones and corpses because that's what he does. And he will put the head in the bag and wait to go outside, and he's going to try to bury it.
Okay. As you reach down to pick up the head, you feel your holy symbol kind of glow, and you feel kind of a warmth, almost like a hand placed on your shoulder. And you watch as the body itself, already desiccated and scrawny, begins to kind of be outlined 80s style in this deep indigo light. And the light itself starts to envelop the entirety of the body, and then the body slowly starts to fade away in pieces, almost as if dissolving into pure light.
I don't say anything else, and I just wait.
The bag that you were going to be putting the head in has now gotten incredibly heavy to you. Like, not so much like, ugh, but you are aware of its weight much more than you were before.
I don't want to look in it, but I do.
It's still the same stuff. You know, pieces of dead bodies, bones, stuff like that. It's the same bag you've been carrying for a very long time. Probably since shortly after you pledged yourself to the Dark Lady and started experimenting and stuff like that, you would have a bag like this. As did a lot of the clerics that did that, simply because kind of like, you know, Avatar water bending, where they keep water on them. This is your water. You're just, it feels heavier to you. You're very aware of its weight.
I think I probably would, because for whatever reason, Fade collects weird, dumb little weapons and clubs and small hammers and crap.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna.
You're
pull
a
out
little bit of a
couple-
pack rat.
Yeah, he pulls those out there and goes digging around and looks for his platinum light hammer, or whatever it was, and
Your rank weapon.
yeah, which he hasn't like even put on his belt for a really long time, but he will take that out and then just toss the bag in the corner.
Okay. So you place the light hammer on your belt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which this may be. I'll guarantee it's the first time Kata and Willow have seen it. Willow, you notice you're familiar with the weapon ranking system because you've lived in it. You see that he's a platinum light hammer, which is a unique rank. Generally, most people most clerics get promoted to, and I can't remember off the top of my head what the next rank is, but generally they would get promoted before becoming a platinum light hammer. So it's a unique thing to see. And Kata, you just see this really, really intricate looking, obviously elven made light hammer with platinum infused in the pommel.
Shiny.
Shiny.
Yes, it is.
So, as you guys are doing that, you hear, "You all ready, Yates?"
Well, are we?
I am.
I am.
I've been ready.
Right then, let's get going. And you guys again are taken through hallway after hallway, these twists and turns. You start to get the idea that they're intentionally taking you down obtuse pathways and things like that, and that this entire complex is built like a maze specifically to disorient people. So they take you through this this maze, and eventually you guys start smelling sea spray, which is weird to smell in a building. And as you guys keep going, you eventually open up into a cavern, a relatively large cavern, and you can see in there. You've been taken to a dock, basically, and there are probably about 3 or 4 different ships that you can see docked. As far as the dock itself, it looks like it could probably, at maximum capacity, hold maybe a dozen smaller ships, or like 3 or 4 like big triple master ships, and then maybe another half a dozen smaller ships at full capacity. Obviously, right now it is not. But the thing that catches your eyes first is the largest ship in there. You can see the ship itself is one of the largest ships that you guys have seen, much, much larger than the ship that the captain, as you guys knew him, used to take you on. This one probably has a crew of a couple hundred. And fully outfitted would probably have 2 or 3 dozen ballista or ballistae, whatever the plural of ballistas is, on it. And like this is a warship, and you do notice that the sails themselves are black. And on the front, where normally you would see like maybe a mermaid or something like that, you simply see kind of a shapeless, genderless figure, vaguely humanoid shape, clutching a chest with what looks like golden things falling out of it, all carved from wood. And as you come out, you see the Black Scourge standing there and going, "Well, it is time for us to go. Welcome to the Sea's Bounty." And he kind of points at the ship. "This way." And walks without waiting for you guys.
Follow after him.
Okay. Anything else you guys want to do before getting onto the ship?
Willow's just visibly happy to be out of underground. And
Well, theoretically, you guys are in a cavern, so you are still underground.
a larger open space where there's the smell of the sea, and it's more like
This is actually remarkably similar to where you built the airships. Where this is basically an underground dock.
okay.
And you can see there's a tunnel that leads out that's relatively large. So effectively, this works in a very similar way that the place where you designed the airships would have worked. So this is kind of familiar to you, or at least the idea behind it.
Are bigger, correct?
What?
These boats are bigger.
Than the airships by the Sea's Bounty. You could probably fit 3 or 4 of the airships in the Sea's Bounty. Like this is
Huge ship.
this would be categorized as like a galleon. Like this is a ship.
Okay.
Meant for like this is something that could in the real world, this is something that you would take that could cross oceans. So You know, all of you know the Eladrin Navy has ships like this, but they're very expensive to build, very expensive to crew, and just the sheer massive amount of like ammunition and training it takes to have a ship like this run well. There's probably a dozen tops ships like this in the entire Eladrin fleet. So the fact that this exists, like this isn't something that you could build on your own. Like this needs a full shipyard and months and months and months of work to build something like this. With an entire shipyard staffed to build a ship of this kind. So it's a little bit surprising that this organization would have access to something like this.
I start following a lane towards the ramp, and as one would do when climbing something, I kind of reach back to pull up the rucksack and just stop when it's not there, and kind of give like a little quarter head turn back, like I'm going to look back, and I scurry up the ramp as fast as I fucking can.
Okay. So the rest of you guys get on the ship?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So Captain Zerda goes, I realize that I don't think I've actually properly introduced myself. You are, of course, familiar with me first mate. While he used to be known as the Black Scourge, I tend to prefer to use his given name, the one that his mother gave him. I'll let him decide what he wants you to call him, but for right now, you can call him First Mate. And you can call me Cotton Glint Eye. That's what everyone else does. And this is me ship, the Sea's Bounty. She's the fastest ship you've ever been on. And has quite a few, let's call them, surprises. If ever we are to be in a difficult situation. Now, heading directly to the Great Dragon Gates will be interesting. I will be very curious to see exactly how the Dragonborn decide to react to a ship of this magnificence appearing before their gates. Remember our deal. I take you there, I leave you there. If me ship or me crew is in danger, I have no problems throwing you to the sharks. Or the Dragonborn, or whatever else they have there. And then he kind of looks over at Willow. Aside from you, we're fine with keeping you. Do we have an understanding?
Yeah.
All right, then. Make sail! And he starts barking orders to the crew, and the crew acts as one. They start actually raising a couple of the sails, lowering a few more. There isn't actually wind in here, so the sails aren't going to really do much. And you see a much smaller boat with oars come out and basically start towing the ship through the cave. And as you guys are going, you notice the cave itself seems to have been carved out of whatever the rock is that this cave is made of is not natural rock. Like, this is not a natural cave. The sides of the cavern itself kind of shine with an almost metallic finish. It's almost looks like there are facets cut into the walls, as if someone just came through with a giant sword and started hacking chunks away to build this tunnel in. And it takes you guys a good 10 minutes, and then the brilliance of daylight, which you guys haven't seen for about a day now, almost blinds you as you guys get out to open sea. You see the sails fully unfurl, and you feel the ship pick up speed immensely as all 6 of the sails fill full with wind, and the ship itself starts flying through the water at a pretty breakneck speed for a ship of this size. So I have a different one. Where are you? I went and spent all this time finding all these sounds and everything to go with the game, and I always forget to use them, and so now I'm not.
Yeah, let's have some good ship music.
So, yeah, you guys are going. The captain goes, "Now, as much as you've piqued me interest, I don't trust a single one of you. So, I'll leave it to me first mate to tell you how things are going to work on this ship while you're here." And so the Black Scourge comes up. "You are going to be given a cabin. You will stay in the cabin. You will have guards outside the cabin door at all times. If for one instant we think you're going to be dangerous, we think that you are doing something that you should not be doing, we will come in, we will kill you, and we will throw the bodies off of the ship. Do you understand me?
Yes.
Then come this way." And he points. Instead of like walking, he actually points and waits for you guys to go. And you can see his hand is resting on his the rapier on his belt.
Willow starts walking.
Okay. I'm assuming the rest of you follow?
Yes.
I do.
Okay. So they take you to a cabin. It looks kind of similar to where Kata and Willow slept. There's hammocks set up in there for you guys. Beyond that, there's nothing. It's just an empty room. There's no shelves. There's no rope. Nothing. You can see scuff marks and things on the floor, kind of hinting that at one point there probably was things in here, and you get the idea they probably just took it out to avoid giving you anything that could make you more annoying or dangerous to them.
Is there a porthole?
Is there a what?
A porthole? Some way to see out?
Yeah, there's a couple along the walls.
Okay.
You guys are on the second level of the ship. So theoretically, the main deck is one level above you, and then there's actually a level above that where the helm would be. And then let's see, I have to picture the ship now. And there would be at least one more. There'd be 2 more levels below you, but generally on ships like this, the very center of the bottom 2 levels is one just very, very large cargo hold that has an opening so that you can lower and raise in cargo. So that's what you would assume, seeing as that's how a lot of ships like this are built. However, you have seen the deck, the hallways to get you to this cabin, and this cabin thus far on this ship. So anything you guys want to do for the trip?
I ask if anyone can speak the native tongue of the Dragonborn.
No.
Yes.
Once they speak orc, forget it.
Fade, do you speak Draconic?
No, but I can by using spell power.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, my other question was going to be, Willow, do you speak Draconic?
No, but I have comprehend languages.
Okay. Draconic would have been kind of a taboo language because despite the fact that it's a magical language, like Elven, specifically like High Elvish Eladrin, due to the fact that the Eladrin don't particularly enjoy the Dragonborn, Draconic would not have been taught to most Eladrin simply because it would be considered a dirty language.
Oh man, it suits me just fine.
Yeah, you're perfectly fine with it.
Oh man.
All right, so twice during the voyage, somebody comes in and gives you a little bit of clean water for everybody and some iron rations. Just to keep your strength up and stuff like that. It's not gourmet food or anything like that, but it's, it's protein and, carbs and stuff like that. Probably dried meat and bread. Or salted meat and bread.
So this being a big ship,
Mhm.
he put us in this room. Are we alone in said room?
Yep. It's not a huge room. Like, it's
All
about
right.
the same size as the holding place you were in the base.
Are we expected to sleep here?
You don't know. They didn't tell you how long it's going to take for you to get to Draconis.
Draconis.
You do
If
know,
we,
again, this ship is moving fast. But you think it's going to take probably at least a couple of days to get there.
At night after if we are alone at night, I'll create some actual food that will keep us feeling real good. But I don't want to share with the crew.
Okay. So, day passes into night. Fade, for the first time in close to a week, your sleep is uninterrupted. You lose the point of exhaustion you had. The rest of you guys, again, it's a ship, it's hammocks. They can be somewhat comfortable. They're not the most comfortable things in the world, but you get used to them. This happens for about 3 days, where they come in 2 or 3 times a day to give you food and stuff like that. Otherwise, they kind of leave you alone. So over these 3 days, is there anything that you guys are doing?
So at some point, when we're all in, I want to say to everyone, so I have this spell that I haven't been able to try yet. Well, partially because it's something I've learned recently, and partially because I'm usually on my own. But it's a spell that would let me create a telepathic bond, so we could communicate. And while we're not in any danger, I'd love to try it out and see how it works, so that we're all familiar with it if we ever need to. Is that okay?
Do you hear my thoughts? The things I don't want you to hear?
No, it's only communication, so you'd have to essentially think that you're sending it, I think.
Okay. Fair warning. Sorry.
You would be familiar enough with telepathic communication to know that it's not a mental link like detect thoughts, where you pull information from someone. It's not you, Fade. I'm talking to Willow. Fade, you have no idea. You've never dealt with telepathy.
Okay.
But you would be familiar with the idea that telepathy in general is just like speaking. It does take effort. It requires you to actually choose to say things. So what spell is this that you're using?
Rary's telepathic bond.
It's legit.
Mm-hmm.
So as Willow tells me that, I say, well, still, it's a mess up here. I don't want to, turn away.
I'm sure you're not the only one.
So you cast the spell. I believe it's you select a certain number of targets, and you guys can communicate telepathically for how long?
Up to an hour over any distance.
Oh, so it's wow. That's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's a 5th level, so.
What's the casting time?
One
action.
Oh, cool. Okay, so yeah, she does some incantations, and I'm assuming it's not a ritual, correct?
It is.
Oh,
can
so
be,
you
yeah.
can ritual
So I
cast it if you want.
Ritual cast it, yeah.
Okay. So you see her make some space on the floor, and she takes out a piece of what looks like just rock to you, Kata. Fade, you'd be familiar with marking stones. Elena Nabok, again, looks like a rock to you. And she starts drawing some symbols on the floor and things like that. Kata, you start recognizing a few of these nonsense symbols kind of look similar to what she had in that really cool book.
Oh, yeah.
But beyond that, you don't really know. And after she's done this, she sits there and focuses on it, and the runes that she's just drawn glow for a second, and then all the marks she made disappear.
So Willow kind of glances around and then thinks, so can everybody hear me?
And in your head, you guys hear the voice of Willow, but you're looking at her and her lips aren't moving.
That was weird.
Did they say that out loud or mentally?
No, I said that out loud.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw the Kata.
I'm gonna mentally think yes.
And you guys hear Elaine's very hesitant voice, just like he's standing right next to you in your head. But again, Elaine's lips aren't moving. And as you guys are all relishing on this, the door bursts open, and you see the Black Scourge has his rapier out and is flanked by two guys with really wicked-looking heavy crossbows. Going, "What is it that you're doing in here?"
You want some now?
I told you, do not do anything that will make us think you are not worth keeping. We sense magic in this room. What have you done?
Trying to make drinks, man. That's what you guys wanted her for, right? Chill.
Sorry.
Go ahead and roll a deception check.
God damn it.
Can I? Since I was part of that.
You roll it. I don't want to.
I'm gonna let Fade, because Fade was the one that said it. I'm gonna let Fade roll a straight roll instead of the disadvantage he was going to have, due to the fact that there are no drinks out right now.
It's always my fault. Here we go. 11.
11. Okay. Remember, this is a contested check, so
Yeah, I
I
don't
still
care.
have to roll.
Oh, well, yeah, it is you rolling.
So that's what double digits look like.
God damn it.
It's a 10.
It's a 10. I'm not even
No, the die was 19. The roll was higher than that.
It was minus 11.
So he goes, "Men, bind them."
I'm gonna cast sending to him. We're doing this shit. We're trying to be quiet, so we're trying to talk telepathically. We're not trying to disturb you guys. And I'll do that right to the Scourge.
Make me a dex save.
Oh boy.
This makes me happy.
He's a little bit on edge.
I rolled this 6 total.
Okay, so he gets an attack with advantage on you because you were totally not expecting this. He reacts lightning fast. Come towards you,
Fine.
I'm guessing over 20 is going to hurt, right? It's going to hit.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm letting this happen.
I'm just seeing if I can roll a crit. Nope, no crit. I need...
Can I telepathically tell my party not to do anything? Just let this happen.
7. Then I need sneak attack. 7 and 6 is 13.
I opened my mouth and got stabbed. Surprise!
24.
Usually
24 total damage.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. 29, with I think 8 of that being frost.
It's fine, whatever.
So he comes forward, and as soon as he sees you casting a spell, he immediately lunges forward and attempts to prevent you from casting the spell by attacking you. I'm going to say, since sending is a relatively basic spell, and I think it's only verbal components, right?
I have to look. I don't remember.
Okay, well...
Irregardless, I'm going to do it through getting stabbed. I don't care. I'm not trying to pick a...
Oh, it was just going to be... if it was a more complicated spell, you'd have to roll a concentration check as you get skewered. But he's able to do that. He kind of stabs you. He hears the voice in his head. He says, "Do not do that again."
Fine.
He pulls his blade out. He cleans it on your armor, on your tabard.
That's not cool. We'll call it even for killing your ship.
He sheathes it again. He goes, "We are watching. Do not give me a reason to throw you off of this ship in the middle of the ocean."
Sounds good, buddy. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping in.
I should mention I sleep in the nude, so if you guys are watching, I turn away.
And he just face palms, walks out of the room. The two guys with the wicked-looking heavy crossbows both kind of get this like sick look on their face, and then they close the door again.
Ah, fuck, that hurts.
You okay?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I hate magic sometimes.
Willow just looks incredibly surprised.
They're assholes. It's fine. This is all telepathic, though.
No, Kata is still saying what she said out loud.
Okay, so I gotta.
Gotta think.
Hello?
Which for Avok is really hard.
Again, I'm not that stupid. This is just weird for him.
Okay. Hello. Shit. Fuck. Tits. Ass.
He's saying this mentally.
I look at Willow and be like, this was expected. You should have.
He had looked embarrassed and is starting to smile a little bit.
So, Avok, you successfully communicate telepathically.
Whoa.
It lasts about an hour. Throughout the hour, you guys kind of test it and things like that. You get familiar. Kata is the last one to kind of commit to the telepathic speaking.
Yeah. Hey.
So again, you're used to nonverbal communication. Just because, again, that's how you kind of spoke with animals and stuff like that. A lot of it is nonverbal. So the idea of speaking without saying words is not a new concept to you. Saying words without speaking them is a very weird concept to you. So it takes you probably the longest to master it, just because you're so used to, well, no, if I move my my tail like this and then I growl, that means this. Why do I need to say anything?
stupid dark skin Eladrin weirdo.
What was that?
Wow. So apparently, Kata becomes racist for just a second.
Sorry.
No.
I'm sorry.
No.
Does Serge have dark skin as far as we know?
No.
You you guys don't know what she's referring to. Every Eladrin you've ever seen has very pale, fair skin. It's kind of a defining feature of the Eladrin themselves. They have a wide range of shades, so it's not like they're all, just pearl white. But Eladrin in general tend to be fair-skinned.
Gotcha. But in terms of since Serge is, as far as we know, an Eladrin, he looks fair-skinned, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to clarify that.
Yeah. The only people that know anything different is Kata. And so when she says that, the statement itself doesn't make sense. Because
Actually,
dark-skinned Eladrin is a bizarre combination of words.
Would I have heard of what I'm assuming is essentially Drow before?
Nope.
Okay. Even in all my reading?
Nope.
Alright. Then I just kind of look at Kata strangely and
They've
say,
never been seen on in the history of the Eladrin in the Kael Isles. They've never seen a creature like what she just kind of described.
Itty bitty part of the world that we're stuck in still.
yeah. So I look at Kata and say, what was that?
Back when we battled him, when our magic was removed for a while, he changed skin colors and he had black skin and white hair. It was weird.
Huh.
Faye, do your people have that capability?
We're full of all sorts of dumb surprises. I don't even know what I can do half the time.
You do know you've never heard of an Eladrin with black skin and white hair ever.
Nah, seems unique.
I mean,
Like theoretically, like even humans who have much more varied skin tones than Eladrin do, and elves in general. Elves in general tend to be a little bit fairer. Wood elves, their skin tones will sometimes go towards the green spectrum, but are still relatively fair. But humans have a much wider range of skin tones, and even among humans, you've never heard of a black-skinned human. There's been very dark brown and things like that, and a massive range of different colors for human skin. But as far as actual black skin with white hair, never heard of a creature like that before.
I mean, I suppose he must have been magically disguising himself, but I've never heard of something like that. I wonder if he's sick or cursed or something. Will's just kind of just rambling about trying to figure out what it is.
I go try the door. Is it locked? Like, have they locked us in here?
No. You open the door. You're greeted by two men with wicked crossbows pointing them at you. What you want?
I want to go on deck. This is stupid down here.
You're gonna stay there. The
Fine,
first
you
mate
suck.
has said,
Close the door on him.
that was rude.
Pistol.
You're rude.
You hear the two guys kind of argue. That was really rude. I know, Philip. It's like he never learned any manners. Right, Gareth. I don't think he really deserves. Like, we give him food. We give him. The door is not like a soundproof door or anything like this. So it's not like they're it's hard to hear them at all. And so you're just hearing this conversation. Philip, I don't think I like them very much.
Avok opens the door. We don't like you either. Now shut the fuck up.
Seeing a big tall one, he always stinks like he's never bathed before. Oh, I think it's because he's human. Humans, they've always got, well, I'm human and I bathe. Yes, but you're a nice kind of human, not like he's a dirty kind of human. Well, thank you very much. That means an awful lot to me for you to say that, Philip. Oh, Gareth. You know you my best mate.
I cast silence on the other side of the door.
Oh god.
door-
The magic.
The door opens and you just see a middle finger.
Shut up. I drop the silence. Close the door on him again.
Unfortunately, silence is a really large spell, so it would have enveloped you.
Oh, that's fine.
So you would have mouthed "shut up" and then canceled the silence.
Yep.
I don't think he likes this either. Shut up, Gareth. All right, Philip.
Oh, God.
The rest of the journey is conducted in silence. You hear the guard change every so often, so Gareth and Philip are not your guards permanently, but I realized you guys hadn't met Gareth and Philip yet, so.
Still amusing them.
Go to sleep. I'm all about this restful sleep.
Yeah, it's really bizarre. Your armor feels lighter. You sleep deeper. Everything just seems different now. Even your gauntlet weapon that you had forged for you seems just to fit that much better. Like it feels more of an extension of your natural arm than a weapon that you're wielding now. So in day 3, you finally hear, all right, it's time for you to come on deck. And as you guys come out, the first thing that you notice, because you can't help but notice, is these massive 200-foot tall stone gates.
Nice.
You can see what looks like 2 ancient dragons standing guard with their wings spread. And the wings themselves look to be what form the gate itself. Having seen an ancient dragon, these are even larger than the ancient dragon that you guys have seen. Again, it's a breathtaking sight. And as you guys are sitting there, you suddenly start noticing that these statues, like the clawed hands themselves, have holes in them, and some of the scales have holes and openings in them. And suddenly, as you guys are sitting there, you start seeing these red beams of light start shooting towards the ship itself. And you've seen this before. You've seen this fairly recently. And you know what happens when these little red beams of light stop is they explode into a fireball.
Oh shit.
And you see what looks like probably anywhere between 60 to 100 of these fireballs coming directly at the ship. Even Avok can kind of do the math and figure out that the ship is not going to be there anymore once this is finished. And so all of these fireballs are coming towards you, and you see Glint-Eye take out that little sphere, click the button, and you see these explosions start happening right in front of the ship, and then they just stop and kind of wrap around this sphere of nothingness. Fade, you feel your connection to the Dark Lady lessen a little bit, but again, your gauntlet still seems to glow. Everyone else, you feel, like Kata, you feel your connection to nature is gone. You can't feel nature at all. You can't feel the power flowing through you. Avok, your axe seems to get slightly heavier and dulls. It doesn't look quite as brilliant as it normally does. And Elaine, your dragon tails don't seem to be quite working the way that they're supposed to. They're just kind of, as much as they are part of you, they're kind of like draping on the ground right now. You're not able to control them the way that you normally do, and they don't feel quite as powerful as they were before.
Willow shivers.
Oh, and Willow, I keep forgetting because I have the wrong scene open. And Willow, you feel all of your magic just gone.
Feels very powerless.
And so you guys see just this wall of red and flame in front of you that lasts literally for about 10 minutes. Like, you guys are sitting there and just being pummeled by these fireballs, and then you guys start seeing flashes of yellow light as bolts of lightning start striking at the ship, and they just wrap around and stop at what you guys can now see very clear distinctions of where this field begins and ends, and it envelops the entirety of the ship. And looks to be roughly a radius of about 50 feet.
I look at the captain. This is rude.
Seems that nobody taught these Dragonborn that it's not the most polite thing in the world to try and explode your guests. And as the sky turns from this bright red into shades of yellow, and then even into like dark violet and other things like this, you're just sitting there. Nothing's happening. The captain's just sitting there holding the sphere. The rest of the crew has manned a couple of the ballista that are on the deck. You know that there are actually ballista below deck as well that are designed for broadsiding ships and things like that. So it's possible those are being armed as well, but they'd be kind of useless against... Like, the only ones that would really do a whole lot are the ones that are mounted on the top deck, because they can aim up. Where the broadside ones really don't have a whole lot of vertical to them. And after about 10 minutes, the barrage stops. And the captain goes out. I take it you realize you're not going to kill us. Perhaps now we can have a conversation.
I thank the captain for his work.
Nothing happens. 2 minutes pass. Nothing happens. 5 minutes pass. Nothing happens. You notice the captain is not getting impatient or anything. He's just standing there. And you guys, 5 minutes passes. 10 minutes passes. 15 minutes passes.
Getting bored.
20 minutes passes. Half an hour passes. One final bolt of energy flies and splits into what looks like a dozen tiny missiles that all go straight for the captain and again disappear about 50 feet before they get anywhere near him.
Okay, Avok just shouts, "Oh, for fuck's sake, are you this stupid?"
And Glinta kind of turns to you. Perhaps insulting them, not the greatest idea if we're trying to get in their good graces. Because as much as I can prevent them from destroying me ship, that's a really big gate. I can't really do anything about the gates. We need them to open it. If we're ever to speak with anyone. And so finally, you guys see the giant wings of these huge dragons start to move and start to part. And at the very bottom where they overlap, you see a small opening appear. Not quite large enough for this ship, but large enough for like a longboat or something like that. And the captain goes, well, this is where we say goodbye. I told you I'd bring you here, I'd drop you off in the water, and then watch you get killed by them. I fulfilled my end of the bargain. And you see the crew has already started preparing a longboat for descent. Your vessel awaits. If at all possible, if you could try dying in a way that I can get me boat back.
No
I'd be
promises.
much appreciated. And again he turns to Willow. Now, again, if you'd prefer to not face certain death with the rest of your friends here, you are more than welcome to join the Black Sails. We could definitely find a position for you. Maybe even sell a little bit of that brew that you make for a tidy profit, which you'd get a percentage of.
Now he talks about profit.
Speaking of percentages, whatever trade deals we get out of this, we get 5% off the top, right?
Of course, because the Dragonborn are going to be trading with me. Aye,
Well.
of course.
Is there like the equivalent of a contract that I can draw up really, really quick here?
No. There are contracts. You are not versed in contract law.
Willow looks at the captain
And
says,
you're relatively certain, like, for contract law to be enforced, there are courts and things like that, Eladrin courts that they would be brought up in. You're fairly certain that he really wouldn't care if you tried to take him to court over breach of contract. Like, you don't see him showing up for his court appearance.
It's fine. I was just trying to make a funny joke. It's good.
Yeah, but I'm funnier and I'm the DM, so. That's not going to come back to bite me in the ass. So, are you guys going to get in the boat?
So Willow
Yes.
looks at the captain and says, I thank you again for the offer. I owed my friend a debt, and I have to see this through, but perhaps someday our paths will cross again.
And so he leans very low, he takes your hand, places a kiss on it, and goes, well, if they start shooting at you, water is a pretty good deterrent for fireballs. Go ahead and let the rest of your friends die. Wait in the water. We'll come back in a few days. I'm certain with your abilities you can find a way to survive long enough for us to find you again. Just saying.
Willow chuckles and blushes a little and just nods.
And the rest of you get in the boat, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they start lowering the boat into the water. Who wants to row? There's 2 oars.
I'll row one.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I'll row.
Okay. With 2 people, it's not incredibly difficult. It takes a little bit of time to get you guys coordinated. But once you kind of get into your rhythm, you start going. You didn't quite realize how far away the gates were because, again, they're so massive that scale is distorted. and it takes you guys close to an hour to actually row to where this opening is. And with every stroke, you guys are expecting a firebolt or a lightning bolt or a, finger of death or something to come down and just end your existence. And thus far, nothing has happened. And after, again, rowing for about an hour, you finally are at the base of these massive gates that are truly awe-inspiring. And you can see the opening, you see darkness on the other side of the opening. So obviously it goes into some sort of room or cavern or something, because it's the middle of the day right now. What do you guys do?
Do any of us get a feeling that if we cast anything, even on ourselves for our own protection, that we're gonna get attacked again?
Well, you saw what happened when the ship just came up. And again, you guys realized how far away the ship was by how long it took you to get there. So, yeah, that's what happened when a ship just appeared there. You guys are now right next to the gates, in full view of anyone that would want to see you. There would be very little chance of you being able to hide any magic that you might cast on yourself. So, you frankly don't know, but your experience with Dragonborn thus far has been shoot first, ask questions later.
Mm-hmm.
Now, your entire knowledge of the Dragonborn has been gained in the past hour. So, Fade and Willow probably would have heard stories of the Dragonborn, about them being a backward race. Savages is probably used a couple of times, kind of comparing them slightly more favorably than the Wood Elves, but still in a derogatory manner. Like, the Dragonborn are not loved by the Eladrin. So what do you guys do?
Find
we're
a
just
white
in
flag.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine.
I was just gonna ask, so we're just in front of this gate?
Yeah, you guys are literally at the opening of the gate, and all you can see is that on the once you go into this opening, you are going to be going into a dark room. Now, with the fact that not only is it midday, but you are on a reflective surface, so it's very, very bright outside. So the fact that you can't see, it might be lit in there, it might not. The difference between outside and inside, and just how bright it is right now because of the sun reflecting off the waves and everything like that, you wouldn't be able to tell if you're going into a pitch black room or just a darker room than where you are.
Well, we've come this far.
Why is everything gotta be pitch black?
Shall we?
Go in.
Fuck it.
All right. So, you guys roll yourself in. As soon as you get inside the gateway, a current actually picks up the ship, or the boat the longboat that you guys are in, and rowing is no longer necessary, nor is it possible for you to row. It is such a narrow passage that you have to kind of pull the oars in, or you're going to lose them. So this current picks you up and it starts going a little bit faster, and eventually you guys feel the room open up rather than see it. because your eyes are still having difficulty adjusting to the very, very big difference between light. But the room that you're in, you can't see anything. You don't see any torches or anything like that. It is simply black darkness. And you hear the words, "Disarm yourselves, or we will destroy you." And that is where we are going to end the show. So, I want to thank everybody that tuned in. Thank you so much. If this is your first time watching this, this is episode in the 50s. These guys have been playing together, some of them for over 2 years now. This story's been going on for over 2 years. And if you would like to see the rest of everything that's happened in this campaign, it's on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/trainerjody. Otherwise, you're more than welcome to follow me here on Twitch, because I do run D&D games every Tuesday, with a few rare exceptions due to, if players cancel or if I am in poor health. I'm regularly doing that, and I also will randomly do karaoke streams. I was at one point a classically trained vocalist and instrumentalist. I had surgery this past summer on my sinuses, and I'm slowly working my voice back up to the control I used to have. So I do karaoke stuff. And yeah, sing jazz and Paramore and a little bit of everything, show tunes every so often. So feel free to follow me here to see me stream just a bunch of different things. Yeah, follow me on Twitter. I'm at TrainerJody. I generally tweet before I go online. Otherwise, that's all for me today, and I will see you guys next time. All right? Bye-bye!